Welcome to this lesson on dividing fractions. Please be sure you have these notes in front of you so that we can begin our lesson. So this lesson has two I can statements. The first one says, I can divide fractions using a model. And the second I can statement says, I can divide fractions using the standard algorithm. Let's just go ahead and edit this. This shouldn't have an A right here, so we'll get rid of that. Okay, so if you remember from the previous lesson, our problems involved whole numbers. Today, our problems are not going to involve whole numbers. They're just going to be fractions divided by fractions. So let's go ahead and talk about two different key concepts today. The first key concept on the left, we're going to discuss modeling, which we should be familiar with because we've done it before. So to divide fractions using a model, create a model using the denominators of both numbers. And when you do this, make sure you create the model for the dividend first, and then create the model for the divisor second. Then our next step is to highlight the amount for the dividend. Then you're going to highlight the amount for the divisor. And then finally, let's see how many times the divisor goes into the dividend. Okay, so that's for modeling. Now let's talk about the standard algorithm. So for the algorithm, to divide fractions using the standard algorithm, multiply the dividend, that is the first number, by the divisor's reciprocal. So for example, if I have a problem like 1 half divided by 3/4, I want to rewrite this problem to look like this. 1 half will stay the same. The division sign will become a multiplication sign. And I'm going to take the reciprocal of 3/4, which is 4/3. So whenever you do this, please don't flip the first fraction or the dividend. Only flip the second fraction or the divisor. Flip that only. Don't flip the first fraction. Once you do that, now you can multiply the numerators. Then you can multiply the denominators. And then right before you're done with the problem, just be sure to reduce. So in order to prevent from getting the wrong answer, you can use cross division or also known as cross canceling to reduce your answers further. So let's use these concepts to solve the following examples. So let's take a look at example 1. It says find 1 half divided by 1/3. Write in simplest form. And for this problem, I want to solve using a model because that is the I can statement that I have down here. I want to solve using a model. So I'm going to ask myself, how many times does the divisor, which is 1/3, go into my dividend, which is 1 half? And before I start this, I want to take note of the denominators. So I've got 1 half divided by 1/3. And if I look at my denominators, one of the denominators is a 2, and the other denominator is a 3. That means that I'm going to have to create a model that is 2 boxes high by 3 boxes long. So here's my model right here. 2 boxes high, that's the first denominator, and 3 boxes long, which is the second denominator. So this is going to make one full candy bar. But now I'm going to label this is going to be 1 half of a candy bar. Now, I can't shade the entire thing because if I go to the store and I buy a half a candy bar, they won't allow me to do that. But they will allow me to buy one whole candy bar, which is what we have right here. I want to shade half of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look at the denominator. The denominator says a 2. I'm going to look on the side of the box that has 2 boxes. So I know that this side has 2 boxes right here. And I'm going to shade one row of it, just like this. So now you shaded 1 half of that candy bar. Okay? Now I'm going to do my second one now, which is 1/3. The 1/3 candy bar has the same exact size, which is a 2 boxes high by 3 boxes long candy bar. But now I'm going to take note of the denominator, which is a 3. So I'm going to look on the side that has 3 boxes long, so that's down here. There's 3 boxes long right there. And I'm going to shade one column. Because if you look at it, now that is 1/3 of my box. So now that I've got my boxes shaded, I'm going to look at this problem, and it says that 2 boxes right here, 2 boxes of blue, form one whole group. So I want to see if these blue boxes can fit into the red boxes. Well, they can, and let's see, this is one group right there, and I don't think I have enough to fit another group, so my whole number becomes 1. If you think about it, I have 1 left over. That becomes my numerator. Now the denominator is how many boxes made one group. Now if you look at it, 2 boxes made a whole group. So 2 becomes my denominator. Then if we write in simplest form, we know that my final answer is 1 1/2 because you cannot reduce it anymore. So that is my final answer. So to finalize my answer, I'm going to say 1/3 goes into 1/2, 1 1/2 times. Okay, so this example 1, we're still talking about the same example, but now what we're going to do is we're going to solve this problem using, get rid of that A, using the standard algorithm. Alright, so I'm going to take 1/2, keep it the same, and we're not going to flip that fraction, we're not going to take the reciprocal of 1/2, but the division sign becomes a time sign, and the reciprocal of 1/3 becomes 3/1. So now we can go ahead and multiply across because we cannot cross cancel. So on my numerators, 1 times 3 becomes 3, and my denominators, 2 times 1 becomes 2. Now that doesn't look like 1 1/2, but we can make it look like 1 1/2 by using in and out. So I'm going to put 2 on the outside and 3 on the inside, and 2 goes into a 3 once. That's a 2 down here, and I'm left with 1. So if I use my little rotating arrows, I know I'm going to start up here. My whole number is a 1, and then my next number becomes, my numerator becomes a 1, and then if I follow the arrows, my denominator becomes 2, and that's the exact same answer we got in the last problem. So let's take a look at example 2. It says find 2/3 divided by 1/6 and write in simplest form. For this problem, I am going to use a model because that's what the learning objective on the bottom says. And we're going to ask ourselves, how many times does the divisor, which is 1/6, go into our dividend, which is 2/3? So the first thing that we have to do is we have to create a model. So by creating the model, I'm going to rewrite this problem, and I want to pay close attention to my denominators. My first denominator is a 3, and my second denominator is a 6. So I'm going to create a model that is a 3 box high by 6 box long model. So here's 3 boxes high, here's 1, 2, 3, by 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 boxes long. This becomes one whole candy bar right here. So I'm going to label this 2/3, but I'm not going to shade the entire thing because I want 2/3 of it. So I'm going to look on the side that has the 3 as my denominator. So this is 3, because 3 was my denominator down here. And I'm going to shade 2 of the rows to make it 2 by 3. So here's one row. Here's the second row. Alright, so that's 2/3. I'm going to draw that same exact model right next to it, a 3 box high model by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 boxes long. But this model is going to represent 1/6. Pay attention to the denominators. That denominator says 6, so I'm going to look on the side that has 6 as my denominator, and I'm going to shade 1 column, because that is 1/6 of that candy bar. Now let's ask ourselves, can the blue, or can the 1/6 go into the red a number of times? So one whole group is 3, because here's 1, 2, 3. There's 3 boxes make one whole group. So let's see if we can place those blue boxes into the red box. So here's one group right here. We can fit another group right here, another group right here, and another group right here. So I was able to make 1, 2, 3, 4 whole groups, nothing left over, and that is my final answer. So 1/6 goes into 2/3 4 times. So here's another example too. It's the same example as the one we did last, but now we're going to solve this problem using the algorithm. So I'm going to take 2/3, and I'm just going to drop it down because I do not want to flip my dividend. I just want to keep that the same. My division sign becomes a multiplication sign. And my 1/6, I'm going to take the reciprocal of 1/6, and that is 6/1. Now what we can do is we can cross cancel. So I'm going to look at my 3 and the 6 right here. Here's the 6 and here's the 3. I'm going to say 3 can go into 3 one time, and 3 can go into 6 twice. So now I made my life a little bit easier. I can multiply these smaller numbers. On the numerator, 2 times 2 is 4, and on the denominator, 1 times 1 is 1. So my final answer is 4/1, or 4. And let's get rid of this A down here. So pause the video, complete these got it problems, and then play it back for some feedback. And when you solve these problems, I would like you to solve it using a model first, and then check your answer with an algorithm. So we've just completed this lesson on dividing fractions. You had 2 ways to solve it. It was either the algorithm or using models, and we want to know how you feel. So go ahead and self-rate yourself based off of this lesson.